Welcome back to AKTV in partnership with Crypto Slate. My name is Jia Gold and we are here live at WebX event Tokyo. So here with me is Mr. Evan Auyang from Animoca Brands. Hello, Mr. Evan. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
Doing great. How are you enjoying Japan so far?
It's great. I come pretty regularly, so it's great to see this event. Very well attended, simultaneous translation. The audience size is large, right? Very enthusiastic amidst an environment that is debatable whether it's actually the bullish and the most bullish environment right now. But you can see the enthusiasm. Basically, people are very, very gung-ho about Web3 in Japan.
That's amazing. So you could feel the energy in the country.
Absolutely. People are so curious, right?
Awesome, yeah. And Animoca Brands, by the way, has a growing portfolio of more than 450 Web3 investments. Mm-hmm. So with this, how do you think the Asian market is different from the West market?
Well, so we are based in Hong Kong, headquartered in Hong Kong, so we're obviously an Asian company, mm-hmm. but we operate on a worldwide basis, so our footprint, spans all over the world, in all of the time zones, basically, with another headquarter office out in London in that time zone. The tokenomics advisory team is over there because it's actually in the right time zone to be doing advisory work. And we have a lot of staff in Argentina under Sandbox. The Sandbox game is one of our assets. And in Europe, and in San Francisco, in Korea, in Australia, we have assets. So from the perspective of geographic reach, we're everywhere. But being in Asia, however, where we spend bulk of our time, and being headquartered out here has its advantages too, because Asia, we believe, is where the center of gravity of digital asset ownership is actually now shifting towards. That being that the regulatory landscape in this part of the world, driven by Hong Kong, for instance, is very positive about the development of the Web3 industry. Japan, Prime Minister himself delivered an address himself, right, mm-hmm. in the WebX conference, and he wants to go after Web3 in a big way. Korea has been early in this space. The government also wants to develop it. And you can see Singapore also very positive about it. And so the whole regulatory aspect of Web3, which any industry that requires development, there has to be an aspect of developing it under some sort of regulatory regime that is supported by lawmakers. And this is a part of the world where they're very progressive. And you can see the West is sort of still figuring itself out. Obviously, Europe with MiCA, some rules are being written there. But in the US, there's a little bit of uncertainty, or a lot of uncertainty from that perspective. So you can see that both from a regulatory perspective and also from a market participant perspective, Asia is actually where digital property rights can be taking a leadership position, so we say.
So how does Animoca Brand plan to stay ahead of emerging trends and maintain its position as a leader in the gaming and blockchain sectors?
Well, we have been a leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're one of the earliest investors in many positions that are early. We're distributors of CryptoKitties back in the days, and we were investors in Dapper Lab, and then mm-hmm. With Axie Infinity, OpenSea, mm-hmm. etc. So we have always been one of the pioneers to see how we can develop the space as an ecosystem builder and investor, mm-hmm. and our network is really what makes us powerful. And we pretty much, know and have presence in every part of the world, and we are present in, most, if not all, of the conferences where we are at. Mm-hmm. We are also speaking to most of the regulators and governments that have an interest in this space, and in that sense, we have a good network to get first view of understanding what are the emerging or the rising projects and founders who we should bet on, and also our ecosystem and our reputation is what makes us unique in the sense that we are not looking to dominate and monopolize the market. Mm-hmm. There's no Animoca blockchain. Mm-hmm. We utilize other chains, and we invest in the chains as well, like layer 1s, layer 2s, etc., because we want to remain that neutral stance in building the ecosystem. And that makes us unique in the sense that we don't no one needs to take a side, and we're friends with pretty much all the market participants. So our objective is to grow the pie. And given that the goodness and the intentionality of how we are bringing forth how we develop the ecosystem, we're always able to stay ahead because we're not extractive in the way that we do business.
That's pretty interesting. So in relation to that context, so are there any plans to expand the portfolio of licensed brands in the near future?
Yeah, licensed brands was kind of like a little bit of our DNA. So Animoca Brands is a brands part of a component to it because our DNA has been game developer. We are a little bit lighter on in the headquarters developing and working with brands. We're working with corporates, some brands as well. But are we expanding branded content and all of that? It will be more on a selective basis. But we have some particular subsidiaries or assets that are working directly with brands. So for example, the Sandbox is working very directly with brands. You can see that if you open its map, right? The Sandbox has lots and lots of brands in it, right? And those are the brand partnerships we look for at the operating company level. At the headquarter level, we would more focus on, I guess, the Mochaverse, right? Mochaverse is our own project. So 8,888 Mochas that would seek partnerships with brands, but not in the same way of kind of like seeking a brand partnership and developing a game per se. We'll still have some of that, but then we're looking for partnership to add to the maybe the customer acquisition journey to lower the cost of customer acquisition costs, work with them on loyalty and other aspects that enhances the portfolio, rather than sort of like building just experiences and collectibles, which will still happen,
right?
But it's more going to be on a partnership basis through probably Mochaverse. And then through subsidiaries. Yeah.
That's great to know. So what's your focus in the next bull run?
Well, it's a bull run or not, the market will go up and down, right? Because the market is driven a little bit by interest rate cycles, right? And we can argue that it's the top of a cycle and the next bull run is coming. That's what some people are arguing. For us, we're builders, right? So we will do similar things, bull run or not bull run. Because we're ecosystem builders, we'll always look in the investment side, look for great founders and look for opportunities where there are unique opportunities to take the next wave of Web3 into prominence. In the building side, we would obviously double down on, again, Mochaverse. Open Campus is one initiative that we have also taken in terms of furthering education. That's a very important part of our DNA because we do want to transform that particular part of the industry to make it more innovative via Web3 and decentralized ownership. And obviously, metaverse games and all that is still part of our DNA. So we are positioning ourselves with various projects and partners, and we believe that markets will go up and down in terms of asset prices, right? But that's not why we exist, right? We exist because we want to build the space. We want to make the great founders winners, and we want to work with people who share our vision to build the next stage of internet, right? And this includes not only the native Web3 companies, right? So the brands like native brands like Yuga Labs, which is Bored Ape Yacht Club that we work with, and Cool Cats who we work with. So those are some of the ones we work with, but we also work with corporates, right? So in Hong Kong, in Japan, so Mitsui is one of our partners and investor. Mitsubishi Bank, MUFG is a shareholder of our Japan entity, ABKK. So we'll continue to work with them, right, to develop and to jointly develop solutions and take it out to the market as well. And in Hong Kong, we also work with corporates there as well. So it's very exciting.
Great news. Great news for the community. So what is next for Animoca Brands?
Yeah, it's I guess it's most of what I just also talked about, right? So there's development in the Web3 space that's native to the Web3 space. So working with Web3 brands, working with corporates to deliver solutions that utilizes blockchain and Web3 components of engaging customers and bringing forth the next stage of how do you bring loyalty to bear in this market, continue to evangelize and also shall we say, further digital asset ownership by creating those assets that are available, make the system interoperable via Mochaverse, do great projects, would be next, right? But for us, it's also a journey of making the company stronger and stronger via good governance, great people, great processes as well. And if you look at the number of developers that are entering the space, it hasn't really declined. You look at the number of active wallets in major chains, it hasn't really declined. So the space is here to stay.
Right.
So ultimately, what we want to do is that we want to be a good leader in the space, still be a thought leader, have great businesses at the same time, and then we'll have a bright future.
That's a very amazing answer. So you're saying that you keep developing in the background even though it's a bear market, bull market. So as for my last question, how do you see Animoca Brands in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, well, for us, it's building a few pieces of assets that will be very important and prominent in the space, right? So we believe that the Sandbox will be one of the prominent assets that we have that's already quite proven. There are assets out there already. There's a token economy. You see that there will be more assets that will be brought to the market. So Blowfish Studios, an Australian studio, which is present today in WebX. They're producing a game called Phantom Galaxies, and it's a AAA mech, kind of like a game kind of like Gundam or Macross, right? It's kind of like a little bit westernized Japanese, kind of like an arcade and adventure game that is going to be an economy of itself. We're building out Mochaverse, which we have a couple of assets under the racing genre, right, or the sports cars genre. I'm probably not even doing this right. It's actually it's collectibles on cars, right? We have a couple of assets like Eden Games, Grease Monkey Games, with Ref Racing, with Formula E, etc. And all of these assets will be brought together in the Mochaverse that we are trying to launch as well. And we have other exciting things that I can't really talk about right now, but there are lots of assets that you would imagine that 5 to 10 years, to answer your question, it's kind of like there'll be some gaming assets, some verticals around there that will be a bit of a portfolio under a education. There'll be parts of that under a vertical there. There's probably likely going to be a corporate solutions around some thematically, maybe around loyalty, customer loyalty. That would be thematically, corporate solutions, and advisory business will be thriving, and then we will have with some funds as well, right? So the funds themselves will grow in size, and then operating companies itself themselves will be will have their own gaming economies and virtual assets economy of their own. So that would be what. As far as our plans are concerned, that's how we would see it. But as we all know, right, this is still early in the space. So the evolution of us and the industry is hard to completely predict. But I would say that foreseeably, those are things we're building. But there might be more, even more exciting opportunities as we look ahead, right? So cannot be totally predictable. Our mindset is that we may look like a big company right now with so many companies under our portfolio and so many operating assets and with advisory as well. But we still operate like a startup in terms of our mindset, right? So day one mentality, right? So we're kind of like, what do we do now? What should we do more to stay ahead?
I love that, how you said about day one mentality. And in few years from now, if you keep that mentality, it's going to be exponential.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Evan, for having us here.
Yes.
I hope you enjoy your time in Japan.
Yes.
And we'd love to hear more about Animoca Brands and its latest updates in the ecosystem. Okay?
Of course, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.